Coming up on The Last Call, Lynette quarterback Christian Story made his commitment, and he's rolling with the Crimson Tide. Coming up, you'll hear from the man himself on why he chose Alabama. And he wasn't the only local player to commit to a major football program. We're also joined by Auburn quarterback Amari Porter, who's headed west, young man, to play for Stanford. It's all on The Last Call, and it starts right now. Welcome back to The Last Call. I'm your host, Justin Holbrook. Tonight you're going to hear from two local football players who committed to Power 5 Division I schools. So let's get right to it and run it back. For a second year in a row, a football player from Lynette is heading to a Division I school. Last year, safety Triquez Bridges committed to Oregon, and now his former teammate and quarterback Christian Story is headed to Alabama. And this week, the newest member of the Crimson Tide stopped by our studio. Hey everybody, I'm joined by Christian Story. He's the Lynette quarterback, but now known as an Alabama commit. So let's start there. What was it like committing to the Crimson Tide, and why Alabama?
It's been amazing. It was Alabama because, you know, they're a national championship contender every year. It's a family field there. The coaches are like family. They're like father figures to me away from home. It's just everything, the total deal there is like I'm home away from home.
What's this process been like? Because I know it's been a long process. You started your 9th grade year. You're finally at your senior year. You had a lot of schools that you were thinking about, Tennessee, you're thinking about Texas A&M, but eventually it was Alabama. What's this process been like for you and your family?
It's been tough. It started out, it was really easy and fun, but you know, as you develop relationships with people, and it starts to get harder because you try to separate like how you feel toward a certain coach, and you can try not to hurt this person's feelings or that person's feeling, but you know that it's a business decision. You have to do what you have to do. So that it's tougher than people think it is.
Speaking about coaches, you described a phrase the other day. It was, you got to kill a gnat with a sledgehammer. What is that about?
My dad always preaches that because he says don't take anyone lightly. You know, just go ahead and drive them through the ground every chance you get, and don't let them hang around and let them think they have a chance to beat you unless when they will beat you. So he always says kill a gnat with a sledgehammer.
Are there any Nick Sabanisms that you've already learned, or any similarities between your dad and coach?
Yes, both of them are very, very stern and big on discipline, but off the field they're kind of laid back and, you know, kind of jokesters really. But, you know, they love hard and love their players hard, but when it's time to go, it's time to go, so they're really serious.
I don't know if anybody's heard Nick Saban described as a jokester before, but off camera probably.
He is a little bit. I mean, he might throw a couple jokes out every now and then, but, you know, it kind of shocked me too.
So you committed to Alabama. Last year, Triquez Bridges committed to Oregon. He's about to play, could start as a freshman. I know Lynette is a 1A school, but we see you guys producing D1 talent. What does this say about Lynette, that you guys are no joke? You got D1 athletes coming out of that school.
Lynette is like no other place. I mean, we're small, but we have everything we need in a small town. Like, we're a big small town, I would say. Like, we're a small school, but we have the same thing that the bigger 6 or 7A's may have, and that's what people don't realize about Lynette. Like, it's a very unique place, and you have to be around to just know what I mean by that.
I know everybody's asking about Alabama, the decision and all of that, but what's it like, you know, this is done and now you can focus on your senior year because this is your last go-around at it?
It feels very good, you know, that I can just sit back and focus on my senior season, because I was thinking about it. I was just in the 9th grade playing against Tanner in the 3rd round of the playoffs and playing against Fife in the semifinals, and now, boom, I'm a senior. And my brother was a senior back then, and now I'm a senior. Time flies and I'm a senior, so I just have to enjoy the moment and seize every opportunity I get.
One question that I don't think you've ever been asked before, have you ever Googled your dad's name, Clifford Story?
Yes, I have before.
What pops up?
The first picture I always see is the one in the championship game. He looked like he yelled at someone. That's the first picture I always see first, and then I see a picture of me and him.
Okay.
That's the first 2 things I see.
I was looking to see how many years he had been coaching there, and the first thing that popped up was Clifford the Big Red Dog. I don't know if I'd ever seen that before. Have you seen that?
Clifford, that's the first time in Clifford. That's the first
tag
at the top.
The picture's right at the top. Yeah, you'll have to give him a hard time about that. Another question for you is that you were ranked as a top 10 athlete in all of Alabama, but a list came out the other day. I think it was the top 100 players, and you weren't on that list. Do you pay attention to these rankings or anything like that?
I mean, I used to, but not anymore really, because this is basically all people's opinion. And when you step on the field, those opinions don't matter anymore, and you know what you can do, and you just got to show what you can do, and like rankings don't really matter to me anymore.
What would it mean for you if you guys could go back to a state championship and win it again? Because you were the first team to ever do it. You led the team 2 years ago. But what would it mean if you did it your senior year?
It would mean a lot to go out as a winner and on top. And it's just, winning the state championship is a special feeling. And I know how I felt and how it made the city feel. And that's the best feeling ever. And I want that feeling again.
Give you a chance to shout out anybody that you want, because I know this takes a community, right?
Yes,
it takes a village. So who do you want to thank?
I want to thank my family first off. I want to thank my brothers, Trey, Pop. I want to thank they're not my blood brothers, but you know, they know Quay, Tay, AJ, all y'all boys. My sisters, can't forget them. Just the whole city, the whole community. I love y'all.
And I know that Town Lynette wants to thank you for being an exciting player, but an even better person. So best of luck to you, man. We look forward to seeing you this year.
Yes, sir,
and roll Tide, right?
Roll Tide.
Congrats once again to Christian. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he's not the only local football player to commit to a D1 school. This week, Auburn cornerback Amari Porter committed to Stanford, and he stopped by on Monday to talk about his decision with sports director Rex Castillo.
Guys, I'm now joined by Amari Porter, who goes to Auburn High School right now, but is a future Stanford man. Congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. What made Stanford the right fit for you?
I mean, I guess when I was going through this whole recruiting process, I was looking for three main things: culture, academics, and football in that order. The culture of Stanford's great. You know, the guys are great guys. You know, they come from good homes, and they're all about past football, you know what I'm saying? Their future is just more than football. They want to help the world in some form or fashion. Academically, it's one of the most prestigious universities in the nation. And football, I mean, it's Pac-12 football. You can't get any better than that, so.
Well, that's an interesting thing. You grew up in SEC country.
Yeah.
Auburn is in the same town as you, but to go to the Pac-12, you get to take on teams like Oregon, USC, Washington. How exciting is that for you?
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's a change of scenery for sure, but I mean, I'm not scared of change. I mean, I've moved 8 times since I've been born, and you know, it's been a great experience, but I'm ready to venture out and see what the West Coast has to offer.
Guys like Andrew Luck, Richard Sherman, Doug Baldwin, John Elway, that's part of the football legacy down there in Stanford. What's it like to be part of that legacy now?
I mean, it's a great feeling. You know, Stanford, I mean, aside from academics, it's a great sports college. You know, I mean, they win the Directors Cup every year, ever since it's been a thing. So, I mean, for sure, it's reassuring that I'm one of the guys that's been a part of that legacy for sure. I mean, it's a great feeling.
And so you mentioned this a couple times too, how important the academic side was to it. You mentioned in your commitment video that academics, you put as much heart and determination into that as you do on the football field.
Yes, sir.
For those of you at home, Stanford has an acceptance rate of about 4%, 4 and 5%.
Yes,
so
for
for
sure.
you, academically, what was it like to get the acceptance letter from Stanford?
You know, going into the process, you know, I was like, am I going to be a good fit? You know, can I do this? And getting that call from Coach Shaw, letting me know that the admission to let him know that I had been accepted was a great feeling. You know, I kind of screamed and jumped and celebrated with my sister. You know, we hugged each other, brought me to near tears. I mean, it was just being accepted into Stanford's one. I mean, you know, like you said, 4%. And I mean, just being that one of that 4% is just a great feeling.
What do you plan to study?
I'm gonna be studying human biology and then take that into pre-med, the pre-med track, and then hopefully become an anesthesiologist off of that.
Wow. Congratulations
Thank
on that,
you.
man. So let's get back to the Plains, though. One more season with the Auburn Tigers.
Yes, sir.
How exciting is this group about to be in 2019?
Oh, it's going to be great. I think we've done a great job preparing from the spring into the summer, and especially in the fall camp, we're going to do great in there. You know, we had some pieces to fill in from last year, losing some key players on defense and offense as well, but I think we're doing really well, and I like where we're at right now.
Central won it all last year. You're a district rival right there. You guys been really amped up to take them on, to see how you guys measure up against the Red Devils?
Yeah, I mean, I guess great competition every year. I mean, I think that's one of the games that determines the 1 and 2 seed for our region, and I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere to play them in. I just can't wait to do it.
How special was it to get the commitment out of the way, so that way you can just focus on your senior year?
I think it was a great weight lifted off my shoulders. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I committed so early in the summer, is just because I want to focus on my senior season. I want to give my all to the Auburn Tigers. I want to give my all to Auburn High and my teammates as well. So I think just getting it out the way and finalizing it was just a great deal for me.
When you talk about your last season there and Coach Weingarten, what has that culture, what has that team, what has that school meant to you?
It's meant a lot. Coach Weingarten and the team, they were accepting me when I came in as a 10th grader moving from North Carolina. It's been a great family aspect. We're a giant family. Nothing different. We all hang out with each other, call each other, check on each other. It's just that atmosphere is none like no other, and I like it a lot. I love it. I can't wait to be a part of it and continue to be a part of it as soon as when I'm gone as well.
That's Mr. Porter, our future Stanford man, and the reason why you guys have to stay up late to watch Pac-12 football. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
We'll be back right after this, guys.
Welcome back. One of the best girls basketball players in not only this area, not only this state, but in this country has officially committed. Olivia Cochran from Carver High School announced yesterday on Twitter that she'll be playing for the University of Louisville. The 5-star senior is ranked a top 25 player in the country and the 4th best forward by ESPN. She's had a busy summer since helping the Tigers win their first ever state championship back in March. The word off-season does not apply to her because she went to Colorado, where she helped her team win the 3-on-3 national championship, which qualified her for a trip to Mongolia to play in the World Cup, and she just kept on winning because overseas she once again helped Team USA take home the gold medal. Meanwhile, Tuesday kicked off the 2nd annual Alabama High School Football Media Days over in Opelika. A total of 18 teams went during the 2-day event. We'll feature 2 teams a day over the next few weeks leading up to the 2019 season. And we start with Auburn and Smith Station, 2 schools trying to stand out in Alabama's highest classification. A new season is upon us, and what better place to start than a team that created a brand new identity last year. In 2017, Smith Station went 0 for 10, but in Mike Glisson's first year, the Panthers won 6 games, barely missing the playoffs in one of the hardest regions in all of Alabama.
I don't think there's anybody in our region that wouldn't tell you it's as tough a region or good as football as there is anywhere in high school football. This region is there's none any better.
The Panthers returned 6 starters on defense and 7 on offense, including quarterback Corey Minton and running back L.C. Harris. But Coach Glisson knows last season's success means nothing this season.
But remember now, there were 6 football games last year that could have went either way, and we won 4 of them. We're ready for round 2, and you can go from the penthouse to the outhouse in a hurry. So we got to get back to work again.
Competing with Smith Station for that region title will be the Auburn Tigers, led by 5th-year head coach Adam Weingarten.
It's the league itself is like he said, it's the SEC of Alabama. I think it's one of the top leagues in the Southeast.
It's one of the best because of the amount of D1 talent it produces, including Auburn defensive back Amari Porter, who committed to Stanford last week.
Excel in all areas of the game defensively, and I think that we all have that mindset. It's not one guy's lacking in this. I think generally everybody has that mindset.
And the mindset for every team in 7A football will be dethroning the champs over at Central High School, who we'll hear from tomorrow. Reporting on your side, Justin Holbrook, News 3 Sports. And now we turn our attention to those Central Red Devils. They're coming off a perfect 14-0 season, winning just their 2nd state title in school history. And now that they've won the whole thing, they're ready to do it again. The state title is back in Phoenix City, and the Red Devils are back to defend it with a new goal.
Our goals are always to win the region. Our second goal is to win the South, and our third is to win the state championship. Well, we've now added the national into it.
After finishing 14-0, USA Today ranked Central a top 25 team in the entire country.
We're going to come out nationally ranked, and we always look for goals to reach as a team, and our team now has accepted the responsibility to try to compete on a national level.
We love it. Any challenge we can get, any new challenge, we're ready to accept it. We trust Coach DuBose 100%, and we trust each other 100%. So any new challenge you can present for us, we'll go at it.
They'll go for it with a new team, but many of the same faces. Central returns 8 starters on offense and quarterback Tucker Melton, who got plenty of playing time alongside now LSU Tiger Peter Parrish.
I feel like I was a big part of the team last year, a big leader. So it hasn't really changed much for me, but those guys definitely helped me become a leader, learn how to compete, and just take control of a team. On defense, the Red Devils returned 6 starters with the most experience at D-line.
Last year, fans wanted to know when they'd get past the semifinals. Well, things have changed.
Well, now they're going to know when we're going to win the next one this year. So, I mean, it just changes. It goes from one game to the next. You know, nobody's ever happy. You're always going to want that next thing. It went from winning the semifinal to, you know, we got to win it.
We'll see what they're made of in Week 1 when they travel to Montgomery to face Powerhouse Hoover in the Champions Classic. So, who wants to go dancing with the devil? Reporting on your side, Justin Holbrook, News 3 Sports. And finally, we turn our attention to our two 6A schools in Russell County and Opelika, two teams coming off two very different seasons. Under first-year head coach and longtime assistant Eric Speakman, Opelika started 1-4 against arguably the hardest schedule in all of Alabama.
Yeah, it really changed after you start 1-4. You know, they really knew who you were then. I quit shopping for groceries at that point in time.
He's obviously joking, but his team was no joke, because after that they won 4 games in a row to make the playoffs, where they won 2 more before losing by 5 in the quarterfinals. And although it's a new season, the schedule does not get any easier for the Bulldogs.
It's actually the same schedule, so you know, we could easily be 1-4 at the end of 5 games this year, because the teams that we're playing, Callaway, Auburn, Central, and we tumped all on the front end, are just as good as they were last year. I think we might be a little bit better than we were last year. 6 starters returned on both sides of the ball, but there will be a new man under center and quarterback Brody Davis.
Last year, I was behind Cade, and like during practice, we usually split the reps, but he's the one that got all the game reps. So, like, I still know everything. You know, I think I'm capable physically of, you know, switching into the role of the starter.
And now we switch over to Russell County. After going 2-8 last year, the Warriors decided to part ways with Dwight Jones and hire a familiar face in former Smith Station head coach Mark Rose. Rose was unable to attend media days, but his players say they've already seen improvements.
It's just there's a lot more coaches, more effort. Really, we just work a lot harder, and I think we're just tired of being the joke.
Russell, kind of like you said, we haven't been to the playoffs and all that since 2013, so that would mean a lot. We put in a lot of work. I feel like we'll get there.
All right, still to come on the last call. The Columbus Lions already made the playoffs, and they already know who they're going to face. So last night's game against Carolina was just a chance to gain some momentum before the postseason starts. We'll have highlights after the break. Last night's game between the Columbus Lions and Carolina Cobras had 0 implications on the playoffs. Both teams already secured a spot, and both already knew who they're going to face next week. So the game was one last chance for both squads to get things right before the postseason starts next week. The Lions lost Luke Collis to a concussion, but since then, they've won back-to-back games with Brian Hicks under center. They're down 14-7 in the second quarter. Hicks drops back, but he's hit on the arm, and it's picked off by Michael Green, and Carolina is in business. And the Cobras would make them pay for the turnover. On the ensuing possession, Charles McCullum finds a wide-open Levon Pearson, not Star Trek, for the tutty. Extra point no good. Columbus trails 20-7. But they get it together on the next drive. Check out this ball from Hicks. Looks like it might go long, but Tristan Purefoy smacks into the wall, holds onto the ball for the touchdown. Go ahead and flex on him. 20-13 midway through the second. Lions trying to get a stop. The defense gets to McCullum, but somehow he gets the ball off and into the hands of Jordan Jolly for the score. Less than a minute to go until half. Lions on the 1. Hicks pitches it out to Chris Sanders McCullum, who finds the end zone. The Lions trail by 7 at the half, but come back to win 46-34, ending the regular season with 3 straight wins. And over in college football, we got some news. This week, Georgia announced its kickoff against top 10 Notre Dame, and it'll go down under the lights and between the hedges in Athens. The game is set to start at 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on WRVL News 3. 2 years ago, the Dogs came away with a 1-point win over the Irish in South Bend. That was also Jake Fromm's first start for the Dogs. We'll see if this year's matchup goes just as well in Athens. All right, we're still serving on the last call, and up next, Jack is back, and he's going to break down the Braves' week in review as they try to keep their first-place lead.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last call. I'm Jack Patterson. Let's take a quick look back at the past week for the Atlanta Braves, another sub-500 week for the Bravos. Now, coming off a take it 2-3 from the Nationals, the Braves offense sputtered during their 2-game set, with the Royals getting swept by the 3rd worst team in the American League. However, the Braves brought their boomsticks to the city of brotherly love and proceeded to clobber the Phillies in their 3-game series, winning 2 of 3 and scoring 28 runs in the 3-game set. The Braves' lead in the NL East remains at a comfortable 5.5 games, leading into a huge series against the second-place Nationals in D.C. That'll do it for me, but Justin Holbrook will be back to finish off this edition of The Last Call right after the break.
The thing you have to see this week is local, and it happened today. Some young Valley baseball players were at a McDonald's in Lumberton, North Carolina, and when they saw an elderly man sitting alone, they introduced themselves and spent the rest of their time having lunch with him. It turns out that Mr. Lamb is an 89-year-old veteran who told the boys they blessed his heart by joining him for lunch. We can all learn something from those kids. All right, thanks so much for watching The Last Call. We're on every Sunday night at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at WRBL Sports. Have a good night.